Beep, 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 beep. Hello, Jesterites and everybody else. Welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. Oh, it's Sunday and it's lunchtime. So, we have a Jester special for you today. Straight hot off the press. Beep, beep, beep. Right, okay. And it's about Kemi. Kemi. Because we have a wonderful article in the Timesage. Right, okay. And I thought it was worthwhile having a read through and seeing what Kemi is saying. Because it strikes me as we've got a lot of things going on at the moment. Things are happening, aren't they? Aren't they? Didn't Lisa Nandy say that, I honestly, I really thought that I was doing the right thing because, you know, I had my head turned by a youth. The youth wing of the Labour Party are running the show. I'm so sorry, says Lisa Nandy. I got this wrong because, you know, I was a subject of a Maoist struggle session and the struggle session leader won, which is 18-year-old Michael Bumfart from Stoke. What's going on? Right, then we got Wes Streeting tweeting. Wes Streeting's made a half-assed apology. You've got to listen carefully, folks, to what's going on. You know, you've got to listen carefully, very carefully. Because some of you would have watched the video I put up this morning where I did a bit of analysis of that woman that tried to throw word salad in Richard Dworkin's face. And it was just ridiculous, right? Be careful. Read between the lines. Okay? That's what you have to do with all this postmodern crap and the bullshit they come out with. So that's Wes Streeting giving a half-assed apology. Lisa Nandy saying I was beaten up by the kids. Keir Starmer going, now let's get this straight. It's just, it's like watching a duck trying to paddle up a waterfall. And I'm loving every minute, right? Okay. So let's have a look and see what's in the Times today from Kemi Badenoch. Written by Kemi Badenoch. Kemi Badenoch. Diversity obsession has led to Kafkaesque madness. And this was today, Sunday, July the 30th, 2023, written by Kemi Badenoch. So Kemi, thank you very much. Badenoch, Kemi, thank you very much. I became very uneasy reading this month that NatWest Group had closed the account to Professor Leslie Sowers. Why had this accomplished businesswoman, appointed an OBE for services to equalities and business, had her bank account closed after 25 years? Dr. Sawyers happens to sit on the board of the Equality and Human Rights Commission. The implication was that she had lost her account for speaking about contentious issues such as transgender rights and women-only spaces. Yet it is her job to talk about these things. The government appoints people to these positions, often to do very difficult work in the public eye. It is absolutely critical that they are protected and not punished for speaking their minds with a draconian application of politically exposed persons, or PEPs, brackets, close brackets, regulations. Last week I watched commentators and Labour MPs tie themselves up in knots, trying to justify the closing of Nigel Farage's bank account simply because they didn't like his views. Yet when the lawyer, Gina Miller, whose views are at the other end of the political spectrum, say her party's bank account has been closed, it appears as if political activity itself is being proscribed. It is perfectly reasonable for banks to be arbiters of legality in financial transactions. However, they cannot become arbiters of morality, withdrawing essential services from people they think are problematic. Yes, yet this is just the tip of the iceberg. In recent years, something far more insidious has been occurring. It isn't just bank accounts that are being withdrawn, but people's very livelihoods are being threatened for their views. People such as Maya Forstater, who had to take her case to court to prove her beliefs were protected under the Equality Act. She is not alone. Over the past 3 years, the Free Speech Union has supported more than 2,000 cases of people across the UK who have lost their jobs or been disciplined at work for lawful free speech. The root of the problem is a fundamental misunderstanding of the Equality Act 2010, often exploited by those with a separate agenda. The Equality Act is a shield, not a sword. It is about preventing discrimination, not social engineering. There are no protected groups in the Act, only protected characteristics. A white man is just as protected on the characteristics of race and sex as a black woman. Yet many believe the act is there just to protect minorities, when in reality, it protects us all. This is somebody who gets it, isn't it? Kemi gets it, right? If you listen to Audzilla, as I call it, Audrey, who's talked constantly about the Equality Act, and you know, people like Sex Matters, legal feminist Naomi Campbell, you know, Anne Sinnott. Audrey's an expert in this field, and and she's got a lovely new profile picture. Nice new profile picture, Audrey. Audrey's is a leader in the field in terms of understanding this field, and they've known about it for a long time that this is what was happening. Kemi's right to say that it's a sword. It's not a sword. It's a shield. It protects us all. Many companies' diversity and inclusion activities are falling foul of the law. For example, by confusing legal positive action and positive discrimination. At last, somebody's bloody said it. Which is illegal, except when selecting political candidates, which was a handy get-out clause Labour devised to use all women shortlists. Encouraging people from underrepresented backgrounds to apply for a job or go for a promotion is positive action and legal. Restricting applications for a position to a certain group is positive discrimination and most certainly isn't. This has led to increasing calls for the Equality Act to be scrapped. And at that point, I should say that one of those calls is from me. Right? It's from me. Kemi has a much cooler head than I do. So, you know, don't listen to this whibbling, Jester. This has led to increasing calls for the Act to be repealed or scrapped. The Act is 13 years old and could be improved, but the issue is not the law. It's bad actors misrepresenting it to suit their agenda. Many of these laws were written at a time when institutions knew how to self-regulate. Sometimes someone proposing a terrible idea would be checked by colleagues in the organisation. It's so true. It's so true. She's absolutely on the nail, Kemi. I remember when it was years ago doing equality work. I mean, long before 2010. And some bloke at an interview, a woman came in. He said, a woman came in for the job. It was an estate agent, if I remember rightly, came in for the job. And I was there doing an observation of their interviewing skills. And the first thing he said to her was, "So are you planning to get pregnant, dear?" And I was like, and he spat at me tongue. Today, the colleagues that would have said that, the people like me who would speak up, are called bigots for disagreeing, so they say nothing. What the Farage and Thor's case have done is show that this problem is getting worse. Long-held tenets of liberal democracy, freedom of association, freedom of conscience, the presumption of innocence, are being tossed aside in favour of dubious inclusion strategies that themselves fall foul of the law. In some cases, they're cancelling people before any wrongdoing occurs, leaving them with no way to prove their innocence. Mau, 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 mau. So how is this government helping when individuals are trapped in these Casca-F circumstances? The new requirements for banks seeking to close customers' accounts set up by the Treasury show that in extremis, we will step in. However, it's critical that we regulate as a last, not a first resort. We have a plan that starts from the first principles, in stark contrast to the knee-jerk reactions of the opposition political parties, whose views change depending on the politics of the victim. We've got a leader on our hands, people. We've got a leader on our hands. Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so excited by all this. That's because I'm simple. I'm easily pleased. You don't have to be excited, but do if you want to be excited. Please do be excited. I don't wish to step on you being excited. It is not government's job to write companies' HR policies. However, it is our job to stop them doing harmful things based on misunderstanding the law. It's coming. My department has been working on a better way to do diversity and inclusion, wrestling the issue back from the activists and the professionally offended without making new laws. I can't wait. Show me now. Can't wait, right? Our inclusion at work panel of experts from academia and business will develop resources based on evidence, not ideology. This will help leaders and their confused HR colleagues. It's just so brilliantly written. They're confused. You're confused, dear. Do you imagine the HR manager? Mary it'll be, won't it? Or Tarquin. Tarquin, who's gay. Who's gay? Now, Tarquin, I've spoken to the MD, and, you know, I think you're a bit confused, but it's not just that you're confused. We've decided that the easiest thing to do is to put you in a home. Bye, Tarquin. Right. So, that will help leaders and their confused HR colleagues understand what exactly works and supplant the dubious materials from snake oil salesmen operating in a largely unregulated space. It's just glorious. Hallelujah. Oh! I'm committed to bringing people together rather than atomize them into identity groups and helping business to focus on delivering healthy working environments rather than becoming social regulators. And that's the end of the article, which of course, for your delectation and enjoyment, is as usual in the Dubris. But here's a couple of words of advice. I do wish Kemi would watch me, but she doesn't, obviously. But if she did, but if anybody can tell her, the first and absolute rule of equality, diversity and inclusion is that every individual has the right to be left alone. That's how it starts. That was always my way of doing it, right? Equality, diversity and inclusion training should never, ever be mandatory. It should always be something people opt into, which keeps the people that design it on their feet because they've got to make it worth going to. Equality, diversity and inclusion should have been about a celebration of all that is best about us. It should have been a celebration about all the different cultures that make up the world. It should be a celebration about how we achieved what we did when we passed the Equality Act. It should be that. It should be grounded in science. It should be grounded in realism, the Enlightenment. Yep, the rule of law, responsibilities, collaboration. That's what it should be. But first and foremost, before anything else, it must give the individual the right to be left alone. Have a lovely Sunday afternoon. I'll see you soon.